The scientist injected python DNA into his assistant. By the next morning, the assistant's body had begun to grow scales. Even his head had started to morph into a snake's. Seeing this, the scientist excitedly gave him another shot. But just when he was full of anticipation, the python DNA inside the assistant suddenly vanished. The experiment had to be aborted. Frustrated and furious, the scientist sold the assistant at a dirt cheap price to a struggling traveling circus in town. Unexpectedly, ever since the circus acquired the Snake Man, ticket sales skyrocketed. Spectators were unaware that the Snake Man wasn't wearing a costume, he was a real, genetically altered human. The man tried to cry for help, but his mouth couldn't produce any sound. Meanwhile, the scientist continued his experiment, unfazed. He began looking for a new test subject and reached out to his old colleague, Professor John, asking him to send over one of his students as an assistant. John introduced him to a young man named Nick. Dr. Taylor, the scientist, pretended it was a safety measure and told Nick he needed a shot of anti-venom. But Nick didn't know that what he was being injected with wasn't an antibody at all, it was king cobra DNA. Soon after, the genetic effects kicked in. That night, Nick began to burn up with fever. The next morning, he looked in the mirror and froze in horror. His skin was shedding. Terrified, he ran to the lab and confronted Dr. Taylor. But the doctor brushed it off, calmly saying that it was a normal reaction after an antibody injection. Then, Taylor gave him another shot. As time passed, Nick began to feel a strange bond with the king cobra locked in a cage nearby. In the days that followed, he and Lisa, the scientist's daughter, started getting close. One day, Nick saw Lisa being harassed by a local thug who tried to drag her away. Nick jumped in to help, but the thug easily knocked him to the ground. Thankfully, a patrolling cop showed up in time and broke up the fight. But just when Nick and Lisa got back to the lab, they realized the thug had followed them. He climbed the stairs to the second-floor bedroom only to be attacked by a pet python on the desk. As the snake coiled around his arm, the thug lost balance and fell. Hearing the noise, Taylor and Nick rushed out, but by the time they got there, the thug had already escaped in his car. The pet python, however, had been killed. Staring at the lifeless body of his beloved pet and his devastated daughter, Taylor's rage erupted. He returned to the lab, pulled out a venomous snake from its box, and under cover of darkness, snuck into the thug's house. While the man was taking a shower, Taylor dropped the deadly snake into the bathroom.